stop trying to work on your mindset. What I've found is that with all the books I've read, with all the self-help I've done, and with all the affirmations and none of it works if you don't do the action. None of that stuff that you think is going to help. And you can't defeat thoughts with thoughts. Every thought that you have has a counter thought. But if you speak out and then you do it, you speak out and you do it, there's nothing a thought can do to you.
Thought Fortunes Podcast, episode number 27, Finding Your Purpose in Recovery with Adam V. Welcome to another episode of the Thought Fortunes Podcast. I am your host, D. Orlando Fortune. This is a show about business and authors. With the growing demand for information, entrepreneurs must learn how to turn their ideas into words on a page that bring in cash and share a unique message. This podcast brings you the strategies, tips, and bars to do just that and do it well using a book. I have a special gift for you, my listeners. Now, you've been listening to the podcast because you're thinking about writing a book. And one of the biggest challenges I hear is, Fortune, I want to write a book, but when I sit down to do it, my brain goes blank. I have all these ideas and poof, they're gone. Well, I've heard you, and I have a solution. Now, what if I told you that you could get rid of that anxiety? That you could plan out your entire book in less than an hour and do it in such a way that when you finally sit down to write, the words would just flow out of you just like they do when you have a conversation. You could eliminate the nerves because you have a plan. Would that help? Your solution is the 4 Brains template. This strategy uses both sides of your brain, the logical and the creative, to pull out your message and give you prompts that make writing as easy as answering questions. No more stressing out over the blinking cursor on the screen that seems to be mocking you, or typing out a bunch of garbage that you eventually delete. Grab your copy of the template at thoughtfortunepress.com/4 brains and get your message done right the first time. By this time tomorrow, you'll be amazed at how easy it was to finally get started on becoming a real author. Don't wait any longer because you didn't get to know how to get started. With this template, you'll finally feel confidence that you'll be able to write your book. Remember, you're only one book away from your next business breakthrough. Go to thoughtfortunepress.com/4 brains and get the goods now. Okay, family. So today's interview, this gentleman gets fired up. Matter of fact, I think he was kind of calm and tame during our interview, but you can still gonna hear the passion in his voice for the message that he feels like he's called to deliver. See, today's guest, Adam, is gonna start telling you about why Adam started selling his books door to door. And, it's a different reason why he's doing it, not just to sell books, but there's a purpose behind it. And the purpose behind why he's doing that is going to help the people that he's going to help serve. So you got to listen to what that looks like, because I know door to door is not something people are going to do. Okay. They also talks about how to choose the stories to keep in your book and which to leave out. But there's also another piece behind choosing the stories in your book and what that looks like as God starts revealing to you how he's been working in and out of your life. Now, there's so much to look at when we start really analyzing our stories and journaling, which is one of the things that Adam continues to talk about throughout this conversation is about journaling. But you guys, there's the stories that are part of your life, that make up your life, the turning points, the events, the people that come on, those breakthroughs, those moments when you're down on your luck or at your lowest point, and you tend to push through, even when people are saying you can't do it. There's even a moment where in Adam's story where people weren't for him. You're going to hear what that was like for him and what he did to overcome the negativity that was coming his way in order to continue pushing forward and start having the success that he's having in his life right now as he continues to help other recovering addicts to change their lives, right? And share their messages. But you also want to listen for why there's no separation between kingdom and business. Yes, I said kingdom and business. Now, this is a defining principle that I had not really taken into account as I looked at my business, but you constantly hear me talking about spirituality and God through all my episodes, and almost every time I get on some type of live stream or have a conversation, God enters the picture at some point. And now, don't think that I don't believe in science, because you always hear me talking about scientific principles or studies or research. So I married two of them, but I hadn't looked at how having kingdom principles inside my business, how they are part of the same thing anyway, and that we have been separating them for whatever reason. And that we should stop doing that. There's a key little nugget there towards about 2/3 into today's interview. And he ends powerfully, as you would expect from a speaker, a powerful speaker presenting all over the country, where he starts talking about how you should be you unceasingly with people and what that looks like. That is a powerful word, unceasingly, because sometimes we get to being different with different people in different situations. And Adam's like, no, you need to be you unceasingly with people. But enough of that. Let's get into today's episode.
All right. Yo, I am so excited to have our guest on the show today. See, there's certain things that y'all have heard me talk about my life and changing my life around. We met another gentleman, just random. Well, let me put it like this way. Divine guidance has brought us together for this interview. Because this is one of the things that I really wanted to do, was to share my message to let other people know that it's possible. And we have another gentleman out here who's has a similar story, going a similar path, and we're definitely going to get into some of his story and what he is doing today. But before we do that, let me introduce Mr. Adam Vibe Gunton. Adam Vibe Gunton is a #1 best-selling author and a founder of Recovered on Purpose. His mission is to help recovered addicts get their story out and live on mission to end addiction. Great. I'm going to say that again, to end addiction. Yeah. With his new program, From Pain to Purpose, he will be training addicts all the steps necessary to release their stories powerfully into the world. Adam, is there anything else you want to add to that introduction?
Man, I actually think that touched perfectly. Thank you.
Excellent.
That's exactly what the mission is. I'm passionate about helping addicts, helping raise them up, because I've just been through so much in my own life, and I've always wanted to do what I'm doing now. And for some reason, I never was able to get the first steps together, which you can see I rep all the different things that I've taken, all the different courses that I've taken to get this kind of knowledge, all the different educations that I've done, all the different mentorships and everything. And I've kind of just got it all together and boxed it up to help recovered addicts, because I don't think there's anything else in the world that's actually doing this for addicts.
Excellent. I definitely want to touch on some of those things you have there, the 100X. Definitely heard about that in the book. But you didn't really talk about much about what happened there, but that it impacted you. So definitely want to touch on that. Obviously, it was a very impactful, inspirational moment for you. Definitely want to touch on that there. So before we get into the meat of what you're doing with the book and your business, and your message here, first thing, simple, a little softball here. What are you reading now?
Right now, I'm actually reading Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill.
I love it. And then I actually am going to open up The Courts of Heaven. So it's basically about the spiritual laws. It's basically in a courtroom, because the whole spiritual realm works on law. And it's something that I'm dealing with in my own life right now that I need to learn more about.
Interesting. Yeah, Outwitting the Devil I heard about. Oh my goodness. That's been years ago. Yeah. And I got the audiobook version of it because I couldn't find I couldn't find the actual physical book, and at the time, I wasn't really into buying stuff online. I'm still kind of leery of that, but I was okay with buying digital. I don't know what that's about.
So you can see it right then.
Yeah. I can see, like, I got what I said I was gonna get. I don't other stuff. I gotta wait and see if it comes.
Yeah.
But no, I got that. I wouldn't devil. Matter of fact, it's the only audiobook that I have on my Google Drive. That's crazy. It's the only audiobook I have on Google Drive is that book.
Awesome.
Interesting stories in there, man.
Yeah.
But definitely have the other one there in the show notes also. That sounds like a fascinating read for myself as I go back and forth between the spiritual and the spiritual science, go back and forth, and then a little drama and urban fiction thrown in every once in a while, just to spice things up a little bit.
Yeah.
But so Adam, tell us about the business, about your mission, and then of course, more importantly, why you do what you do.
Yeah. So the whole business, the whole mission and vision of the business is to help recovered addicts get their stories out. But the reason why I believe we need to get our stories out is because there's an entire education system missing from the schools in America and the world. I'm starting with the public schools in America because that's where I went to school. That's where my experiences are from. And I used drugs so early on in life. And even though I was doing really well in school and I was, all-state football player, all-state wrestler, that kind of stuff, I had this deep, dark secret and had no idea where this was heading for my life, right? So I had no idea that because I was using cocaine in high school and because I was taking Percocets and things like that, I had no idea that less than a decade later, I would be homeless. I would be unable to stop using drugs. I would lose my family and my friends and all this stuff. I had no idea that that's where it was leading. So, and I went through the DARE project. Like, they came in and they taught us all that stuff. But what I found is that, an authoritative figure coming in and telling me what not to do. Like, don't do drugs, it doesn't work because they can't speak from experience. So what I found is that the mission of this is for us as a collective, right? Because I know there's a lot of peer-to-peer groups going out that basically it's one speaker going into schools. Yep. And they have to speak in order to get that message out. But the whole point of this is that we're not going to compete. We're going to put our messages together 3 at a time and go into schools so that every single person inside of that school is impacted. Because maybe my story only is able to impact 35, 40% of the kids in there where they can actually relate to it. But then if I have a girl coming in and sharing her experience from high school, then all of a sudden another 50% are impacted by her story. And then another person coming in and telling their experience. And those 3 together, it's impossible for them not to all be impacted. And then also the reason why I'm doing this for recovered addicts is because a lot of people don't realize that our battle is not over when we get clean.
Oh, no.
Right around like right around 17, 18, 19 months clean and sober, I was having like really, really crazy thoughts about relapse and suicide and what is my life about, the meaninglessness of it. I had a thriving business going on, but yet felt so unfulfilled and so purposeless that I had this idea that I had to pray to God and run after what he actually told me to do. And that's what I want to train people is to fulfill on that dream inside of them. Because ever since I've been building Recovered on Purpose, there's no thoughts of relapse, no thoughts of depression, no thoughts of suicide, no thoughts of what am I doing with my life? I wake up in the morning. I don't even, let's go, God, let's go.
Let's get it.
Yeah. Just so excited, and that's what I love. The way that I feel. I love the way that I'm going after this. And that's what I'm trying to share with people. I'm not telling people to do exactly what I'm doing because a lot of people aren't called to do exactly what I'm doing. But I want to train people how to connect with that purpose and fulfill on it. And every single day, it's something that creates so much hope in someone's life. When you're working on something in the present that you feel purposeful, you have a hope for the future that's impossible to have without working in the present on your purpose.
Absolutely. I love the idea. I absolutely do. And I'm all for it. So one thing we'll talk afterwards, or we're going to definitely talk about that. Because, as a recovering addict, when I share my story, I let people know, I've been on some NPR stuff and things of that nature. Like, I don't have the typical addict story that you think about. I was not abused. I wasn't, I didn't have a family full of alcoholics and my derelicts and so forth for my family. That's not my story. I graduated with honors, was the captain of my team. I went to college on a full athletic scholarship, transferred to a full academic scholarship, graduated with honors there, and a chance to go play pro ball up in Canada. So I didn't have any of that stuff. My family is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I chose to go the other route
after
some stuff that I experienced and not knowing how to deal with those emotions, right? My family wasn't perfect. There's certain things I didn't know how to deal with. And because of those things I didn't know how to deal with, I chose this route to go deal with them. Something which was, starting to drinking and alcohol and drugs and stuff was starting to become that thing. Completely setting aside the spiritual element that my family instilled in me from a child. But once that thing gets a hold of you, all that spirituality stuff is like, it's still there. It's talking to you like, I'm here when you need me. Like, I'm trying to talk to you. I'm not going anywhere, but you keep trying to shut me out. But I'm still here. Every time you get a little clean, clear moment of your mind, you're reminded again, I'm still here waiting for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good.
But I definitely want to hear that, because you got the different perspectives. I love that approach, because my story is different, and there's other people who won't understand. Like, I didn't come from no good family. You don't mean I'm not trying to hear that.
Right.
So I love that, man. So this is really going to take me into that next point, then, which really seems like the impetus for your book is more to get ready for this mission that you're on. So my question is, of course, when did you publish your book? I know it published typically the question is, when did you publish your book? And that's November of this year, which is a significant point for you. I'll let you express what that means to you. And then why did you publish this book? And I want to know this also with that. Is there in this whole when and why, is the book come before this mission that you're on? Or did you set to start the mission and then this was just part of another piece in that mission?
Right. So I've actually been wanting to write a book forever. I've been wanting to write some kind of book. I wanted to tell some kind of story, and I was trying to work on it for years. Mm-hmm. But once I actually connected with, I was out at that 100X conference that you read about in my book, and the first night there, I was worshiping to Jesus culture, and God literally told me, "Recovered on Purpose is the name of your company." He told me, he told me to download it right there. So I got the domain name and everything, did it right there while I was worshiping. Yeah. And then throughout that weekend and throughout the time I was there, just incredible things happened. I did Chandler Bolt's self-publishing school. I met him there and got that program. And then God started telling me that if I released this on my 2-year clean and sober date, which was November 6th, that I would inspire so many people to do it better than I did. Because what I'm finding is that if I would have had somebody coaching me, if I would have had me now when I was 30 days clean and sober, I would be in a different place right now. Yeah. I would be even further than I am now. So that's what I want to do. I want to find people that are going to publish their books and get on purpose and all that in 18 months, in a year. What if somebody literally got their story out at 6 months clean and sober and were so passionately driven by purpose that they were changing lives that early on? How many people that are struggling with addiction, when they see somebody that only has 6 months that's just killing it with life, how much hope can be added to that person, the person that wants to get out of it, right? So when I got that name of the company, then all of a sudden I wasn't writing this book. Although this book is going to get my story out, I didn't write this book to get my story out. I wrote this book to show others that it's possible to get it out, and it's necessary. Look at the amount of people that hit me up on the daily on Messenger and say how much it's inspiring them, how much it's encouraging them, how much they love what I'm doing. Dude, it's incredible. The book is a book, dude. But what it's doing is positioning my message and positioning a certain kind of inspiration for others to be able to do it. It's an accomplishment that is not special to me. It's not special to me. There is a very specific and simple method to get your story out. And that's what the point of it was to show people that it's possible. since then, I've been doing videos, I've been doing podcasts, I've been doing interviews and different things with people, and it's all been gifted me ever since I did this book to get a message out to help others with it.
Love it. So what I'm hearing is you're using this, which is another, I want to say this is this first bar that's been dropped in there. So it'd be simple strategy here. When we talk about writing your book, they all have various purposes, but we have to decide what the purpose of their book is from the beginning. Some of it is to get on more stages. Some of it is to just share your message. Some of it is to teach your audience or teach your customers about your process and their frequently asked questions, whatnot. And what I hear here is like more of a proof of concept. Yes. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I did that for my Overcoming Procrastination book. I was like, you know what? As soon as I was like, I need to write a book on procrastination. I said, the best way to write a book on procrastination is to write it in 30 days. There's no better, have it released in 30 days. That's proof of concept. And I talk about it in that book. This book was written in 30 days to prove to you all the concepts I use in here will work. So I love that. I love that strategy. Good. That's exactly what I hear you saying. It's like, this is not, but it's doing exactly what you need to do. Yeah. Because there's a lot of vulnerability, and I definitely want to ask you about that vulnerability in the book. But before you answer that question on being able to get vulnerable, especially early in recovery or however it may be, because I'm at the point where I'm cool with it. And I had an awakening moment where a spiritual teacher told me to get vulnerable, and then it was like floodgates open. It's like, oh, this is easy. But there's you said it a couple of times now about having this purpose, and the thing here that was reminded of here recently in a book I was reading is that Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl comes in and says that when a person, the reason why people struggle is because they don't have a purpose, and because of once you find that purpose, that meaning for your life, all the other struggle and stuff goes away. I mean, it's not that it's gone. The events, the situations are still there, but they're no longer from the perspective of this is pain and struggle and strife and, heartache and challenge. It's more of, oh, this is what I've got to go through to get to where I'm going. Right. And I've heard that several times, that purpose. I love that you're saying that. But in that, getting to that point, there's a process we got to go to realize that my pain can now become somebody else's prosperity, right? That I can push through what I'm going through and share it with someone else, so that my experience, strength, and hope becomes something that they can use to help them get through the moments. There's a process of getting there. So talk to the TFP family about that process for you of going through the struggle and get to the point where, like, I got to share this. I can share this. I am sharing this, because that's an emotional, psychological stuff going on.
Yeah. So my whole book is about spirituality and different spiritual battles that have happened. And there's been things battling me on getting this message out for a long time. There's been principalities that have worked really hard on getting me to not do this. So what my whole battle was, a spiritual war that was going on in my head about my own worthiness, my own deserving, and my own value, which is really, it seems so simple to remind yourself that you are the most valuable thing in all of creation to the Creator, you right there. And when something is telling me that getting this story out, nobody's going to like it, nobody's going to listen, nobody cares, you're not really that great of a writer, all that stuff, it's just a mental struggle that once you conquer it, though, I'll never have any issue writing a book again. I will never have any doubt in myself about writing a book. And I found that there's levels to this also, like certain spiritual battles that I go through and then overcome, right? Another one comes at this point. And through this breakthrough, like the feeling that I got from, like, when I was holding this in my hand for the first time, like holding my book, it felt absolutely amazing. and then shortly after that, I start dealing with another spiritual battle about just different things that go on different levels, and every breakthrough brings another level of me, another level of me, and that's my experience with it.
Excellent, excellent. So what would you suggest? What would be your suggestion for that person that is trying to get that breakthrough? What would you suggest is a practical step or action to take in order to have that breakthrough, to keep pushing through that breakthrough?
Stop trying to work on your mindset.
That's interesting.
Yeah, what I've found is that with all the books I've read, with all the self-help I've done, and with all the affirmations and none of it works if you don't do the action. None of that stuff that you think is going to help. And you can't defeat thoughts with thoughts. Every thought that you have has a counter thought. But if you speak out and then you do it, you speak out and you do it, there's nothing a thought can do to you. There's nothing a thought can stop you from doing if you speak it out and you do it. So my suggestion for anybody that wants to get through and get to that breakthrough and get something accomplished is stop trying to think about how you have to think to do it. Just sit down and do it. There's also something called a mind dump. Like literally, I have whiteboards all over here, and I do mind dumps all the time where I'll just put tallies down, and then whatever thoughts come out of my mind, ideas for stories, ideas for business, ideas for tasks, ideas for this, I just start dumping them out. And then I pick the ones that are priorities, and then as I'm doing them, if something comes into my mind, a lot of times that's how we're distracted, is by, like, if you sit, like, you'll notice, sit down to write your book. Mm-hmm. In the first 2 minutes, how many things do you have to do right now? How many things do you have to do right now to be able to write your book? Right? Like, I need coffee. I need water. I need to call that person. I need to text this person back. I need to message this person. Like, a huge thing is turn this off. Turn it off. Turn it off and sit down for an hour. Just do it.
Excellent. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And that is an interesting concept as far as the action, because it's definitely so key to dealing with whatever is going on in the internal talk, the self-talk. What I've learned to do, as you said in your example of, you got the download of purpose, recovered on purpose, or purpose recovered, on purpose.
Recovered on purpose.
And you decided right then, let me get the website. Yep. Like, that bias towards action is one of the things that a skill, a habit for most of us to develop. And again, talking about procrastination a second ago, but that's one of the things you get in the habit of, like, this is important, and you do it now. Boom. And I love that you gave that example of prioritizing the items. That's what I'm going to do. Right. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why when I in the first week, when I'm working with my authors, it's like, all right, we're going to plan out when you're going to write, how you're going to set it up. What do you need to feel comfortable? So you're not getting sitting down like, do I need coffee? Do I want tea today? Like, we're going to get you into a habit so that, and what the environment's going to be. Are you going to be playing music? Or be outside, inside? What are you going to be doing? And we're going to create that environment so that every time you start doing this, you start making the coffee. You start getting the station set up for you to go. You're going. It's almost like a meditative. And I hate it to put it this way, but for those who are addicts are going to come into this, or recovered addicts are going to notice, like, when you get to that, when I got to the point of I was going to roll a blunt, that process started changing my whole mood of getting everything prepared. It's got me. I enjoyed that more than all, until I got, up to the point. But that process is a similar process. So there's so many things we can use that made us great at getting high that we can use to get great at being a high achiever. Right. And that one of those is a process. I'm going to have my coffee. I have coffee and I have water. I have a office down in the stairs. I have my noise canceling headphones, whether I'm listening to music or not. I go into the office with, and I have my little thing of nuts. I may not drink the coffee, I may drink the water, I may not have the nuts, but it's right there if I so get to feel the craving to grab it. Right? Yeah. And my mind automatically starts going into, it's time to create. I've done it so many years. So I love that. I love that. I love it.
And I want to touch on two things really quick.
Yeah. Go ahead.
they've actually found that like a heroin addict or a meth addict, the dopamine is actually at the highest release level right before they shoot up, right before they stick it in, because they're anticipating it.
Yes.
So they actually get higher right before than after actually using it. And then something else. Why is it that?
Explain so much, bro. I didn't know that. I didn't know that, but explain so much.
Yeah. And then let's say baseball players or a whole lot of different athletes, they have a very specific ritual before they go up to the baseball plate, the home plate.
Yeah.
Because it puts them in a state of, I'm the batter. Yeah. I'm about to hit a home run, right? Mm-hmm. So the whole ritual that you're talking about, it's there's a way that your mind will actually get into the author mode. Yep. So I love that you're teaching that because it's science.
Science. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so you've written a book, and the book is published here. Doing well, you're getting these emails, your texts, posts on social media, so forth, direct messages. So the business, how is this book, how is it relating and affecting your business at this point as you're starting to get this mission? Are you starting to collect some names? Are you building a list? How is your book helping and supporting you build your business?
Yeah, so it will with the names. I'm not collecting them yet. Okay. Because I'm actually building something that's going to help everybody that I work with. And I'm focused on selling these books because I also have some really a lot of training and a lot of experience in sales, door-to-door sales, kiosk sales, home show sales. So what I'm doing, I'm actually videoing. I have a videographer following me to go do book sales in all those different avenues with a pitch that is duplicatable for anybody. Anybody can go up to a door with the pitch that I'm creating and showing that it works. Like I'm just having a camera hidden here and I'm showing them how to sell a book almost every single door. Why would anybody not buy a $15 book when the author is at their door?
Right.
And they're about to sign it for you and all that. So I'm doing this launch. Like there's so many, like since this book has come out, there's just so many things that are going on that I'm, and it could be procrastination a little bit, but I just feel like I do want to have something so valuable, bro. Like I want to help people so bad that I want it to be so good, so good that when I start actually getting names and start doing emails and stuff, I'm going to add so much value to their life that they don't have to do my program. They don't have to. Just being in the sphere, just being in that list, their life is going to level up. So I have dozens. I don't think I have over 100, but I have dozens of videos backlogged, whether it be podcasts, whether it be videos that I went around and took for messaging and all that. And then I have hundreds of photos to be doing memes and stuff. Because my whole thing is, I know that adding value, you'll get value. I haven't even ran numbers for this business yet, bro. I haven't, like every business I've ever done, it's always been about, okay, commission, how many sales do I have to do and all this stuff to make this happen. This one, this is my life's work, bro. I need to add as much value as I possibly can. So, and I don't want to disrespect. This is where it's, this is mind trick, dude. Yep. Yeah, like I want to start getting those names once it's happening at my launch party, and by the time this launches, my launch party happened. December 13th is when I actually start getting my list. Because I have a launch party. I'm going to have a little bit over 100 people at a launch party, and I'll get everybody's names in there. I'm giving away a scholarship to my program. So I'm making sure that everything is ready at that point to start just blowing it up, bro. Helping people in an enormous way. This is a group of people that are not being helped with this. There's a whole bunch of people saying, we're breaking, like we're here to help addicts, break the silence of addiction, and they'll listen to the person's story, right? And then, if they hear like 30, 40 different stories, they pick 3 of them. They pick 3 of those stories and put them on their website, and then the other ones are never heard. And then those addicts, those recovered addicts, are never heard from again. You know, that's crap. They need to be built up to be able to do this on their own. Not build up your platform, bro. Not build up my platform. This isn't my platform. This is all of our platform. This is all of our system to be able to get our own message out. Dude, I know that I'm going to meet so many people that are so on such a higher talent level than me, such a higher skill level than me, like just people that are just so much better than me. I need to have something that's going to better them, that's going to level them up no matter where I'm at, you know?
Oh, I got you. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. No, because what I'm hearing is that it's you're ready, preparing. You're in this pre-launch, as I should say, pre-launch stage, which is awesome. And by the time this release, you would have launched. Hopefully, we get some updates here to make sure they go added to the post once it goes out. And definitely, we'll have the links to what you have launched out there in the show notes here for you. Now,
Awesome.
what I want to hear from you now at this point is about that writing process, because you talked about having Chandler Bolts. Definitely know about his program and so forth. You said,
he writes a personal note to us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So as you went through this writing process, there's some things that you learned. So I'd love to hear about what you've learned, and not necessarily about like, here's how to craft a better story, things of that nature, but what did you maybe mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, what did you learn from your writing process?
Yeah. So number 1 is commitment. That's the number 1 thing that I learned. Because Chandler has an incredible system. He has a bunch of incredible coaches, an incredible community. I think the number 1 thing that helped me get my book done is committing to a program, committing to and putting investment into it. Like something happens. Something definitely happens when you invest in something. Like, I'm committed to this. I'm committed to self-publishing my book. I'm doing it. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the mind dump and mind map. The mind dump and the mind map are what set it up so that, because I have done because I had this idea to do a mind dump for the book, but I had this whiteboard that had like 87 or 88 stories written down it that I needed to write to get into my book. So I started like checking off, and it was like a never-ending process. But once I did a mind map that Chandler actually teaches, he has a 24-hour build your mind map free giveaway thing that he does. And it's basically you write to the idea of your book. You don't necessarily want to write to the title of your book. And that's why my book was originally just called From Chains to Saved, right? Once I actually got the subtitle, One Man's Journey Through the Spiritual Realm of Addiction, then all of a sudden a whole bunch of my stories were now obsolete.
Irrelevant. For that book.
Exactly. So then I was able to start crossing those off in the importance scale. And then basically the way that he taught it, which is what I did, was I made 5 subsections. So I wanted to do one subsection of early age stuff. So basically like high school. I went through the story about Columbine High School when I was in 4th grade when it happened. And so early age. And then kind of went into the start of addiction. And then I went into the demonic realm and the things that were going on that was just like intense in my addiction. And then getting saved in the process of getting saved and getting clean and sober, and then life afterwards and some things that have happened, like when I got a picture with that politician and Jesus in the background.
317.
Yeah, John 3:17, bro. It's crazy. But in that, and then once you have those 5, that's 5 sections of your book. Then you break down 3 of each of those. So let's say the 5th one. So afterwards, right? So I wrote 3 things there. It was the story at the Mercury Cafe, and so that was so I wrote the story at the Mercury Cafe. I just made that little line here. And then I made another one that was the story of Governor Hickenlooper, and I wrote that right here. And then the third one was the story of 100X. Then all of a sudden, I have 15. Once I do 3 of each, right? And then all of a sudden, the book is mapped out. Now, all I have to do is write between 1,000 and 2,000 words about, roughly, of each one of those topics. You can also break it down even further, and you can do this 5 times 3 mind map for each one of those 15 to break it down even further on exactly how you want to write your book, exactly how you want to write each chapter, and then you have it mapped out, and then all you have to do is just sit down and write it. Boom, done.
Absolutely. Love it. So now here, and breaking down that process and understanding the different stories, there's a lot that you had to learn about your journey, right? So what would you look at in your journey as part of, like, what I guess, here's the question. My princess is home from church. But in the process of going through this journey, you crossed out a bunch of stories that you may want to use in the future. However, there's certain things that you probably that you realize as you're writing these stories or writing these things out about your life journey. And I want to ask you, like, in seeing that your life's journey out there on paper, whatnot, was there anything that or overriding theme or something that you've learned from your life that wasn't there until you actually wrote it out? Because I find that a lot of authors, once we start writing our own story, we're like, oh, I didn't even realize that. Like, I was going this direction, but this is so pivotal to this, I didn't even see it. So is there some other revelations that happened to you as you were going through that?
So we're about halfway through today's show, and I want to give a quick word from our sponsor before finishing the interview. So today's show is sponsored by Thought Fortune Press. What you probably know is that if you're not an authority in your industry, nobody's hearing your message. And you may know that the number one way to build your authority is by authoring a book. But you probably don't know is that you can write the manuscript for your first book in less than 4 hours. I'm D. Orlando Fortune, the lead self-publishing strategist for Thought Fortune Press, where we turn your ideas into a branded book that brings in the cash by sharing your unique message and positioning you as an authority in your industry. So if you're an entrepreneur or speaker who's thinking about already writing or want to publish your next book, but you don't want to write it or you just want some help getting it done, your first step is a Wealthy Author Roadmap. Now, this is a call to help us get to the heart of what you do for your customers. And together, we'll determine how a book will help you establish more credibility in your customers' minds and make a bigger impact in their lives, while also, of course, increasing your revenues. Now, during the call, we'll walk you through designing your book's outline and its content, and also create a publishing timeline that fits your goals, even if that means getting it done in little as 90 days. Now, what makes us different is that we know a book is only the first step into your world. So not only do we help you write the book, but we work with you on creating a signature suite of products, all from your book's one outline. Now, we do all of this using the 5 phases of our proprietary system, the Signature Book Formula. Now, to get started on your personalized Wealthy Author Roadmap, go to thoughtfortunepress.com and click the gold Start Here button at the top of the page. Now, remember, you're only one book away. Let us at Thought Fortune Press guide you to becoming an author. Go to thoughtfortunepress.com today. All right, y'all. So let's get back to the tips and the interview that we had started off with here with Adam Gunton. Enjoy the rest of this interview.
Yeah, I got very, very, very clear on God's love for me, and his never leaving and never forsaking me. Like throughout my life, and writing these stories out and being able to look back on where God was in all of it, was incredibly, incredibly powerful. I remember at the very end when I finished my book, I was writing that last chapter about 100x and the deliverance that happened there. And then when I made the connection to he delivered me exactly 11 years after my best friend killed himself, I remember I was writing, and then all of a sudden he revealed that to me. He told me, and I stopped writing and I sat back and I just said, "Oh my God, you are absolutely amazing." And I left my office. I went over to my living room floor and I fell down and I wept, bro. I wept from his goodness. Like, getting this out finally, it just it solidified my faith, bro.
Good. Yeah. I was wondering. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I've been through so much, and I've had so much unbelief on me, bro. At the end, I don't put this in the book, but at the end, bro, when I was going to different fellowships and different things, there were literally groups of people that were betting money on if I was going to make it or not.
Yeah.
It was intense, man. Like, I was alone, I was alone, except I wasn't, which is what I learned. In the loneliest part of my life is when I noticed how close God is. Because that's what he wanted me to learn the whole time, was that my reliance on him is the most powerful thing that I can realize, that I can have faith in, no matter what's going on in my life. Dude, my faith in him now, after writing this book, is even deeper than when he literally revealed his face to me and got me clean and sober from something that I never thought I was going to be able to. My faith in him now, what he's doing in my life now, the power that he's bringing into my life now, it solidifies on a daily basis. But this book was able to map literally step by step where he's been the whole time and put it all together in a way that my mind was able to comprehend his goodness. Because it's really hard to sit down and think about everything that God has done in your life. Everything. But when you write it out step by step, it's amazing.
Love it. And yeah, I want to jump. It's a subtle little bar that was jump there towards the end. Towards the end there, key thing. Well, even in the process of what you're doing, what you've done with brain dumps and going through the stories of identifying these turning points, if you will, in your life. And that, bro, I remember when I finished the first book, I was ready to like, all right, what do I do now? I was trying to get to the manuscript done. And I think about like, how often in my writing of that first book that I don't remember writing. Like, I had gone somewhere and would just be like, whoa, what I wrote, and I have to read like, okay,
yeah.
Oh yes. God, that was good. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Like,
Amen. Yes.
It comes out, and the revelation that come out because of that. And that was part of the reason why for me, I initially was like, I'm just going to give this book away. I don't know. I don't know if this book, I was supposed to write this book or what happened. God wrote most of it. I was just a vessel that he used to get it out.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I heard of the bar. Speaking of that bar that we talked about, is that through that writing of the detailing of the story, we started realizing that in the writing out of the story, the details. So we started seeing in those moments where we may have overlooked or just had a thought or feeling that God was still in my life, that Spirit was still guiding us. But in writing of those stories, that we see the actual events. And then it's a reminder, like, well, if he was there for that, then that pivotal event, what about all the other small things? He must have been there for all those other small things I wasn't paying attention to either, that I've overlooked, right? So it starts giving those a true accountability. And part of that process comes, which is why I keep talking to people about the importance of journaling. And we get into the habit of writing these stories often, you're constantly seeing how God's been playing a role in your life. And sometimes we don't see it when we first write it.
Right.
Like, what is this about? Like, let me get it out. And then it's like we reflect on it, or months down the road, that situation is taken care of, or we figure out like, oh, that's why you guided me in that direction I had no clue about.
Right.
Like, didn't make any sense at the time, but now I see why you closed that door, because you needed to open this one over here. And if I went over there, I wouldn't have got to what you had for me over here. And this is way over here, way better than what I thought I was going to get over here. Thank you.
Yeah.
But at the time, you're like, I don't get it, but I'm going to keep walking.
Yeah. Amen. Yes.
Love it. And I think you kind of touched on this this next. Well, before we go there, I want to hear about 100X.
Yeah.
Go to a point in the story towards the end of the book. What is 100X? Because I wasn't quite sure if it was like a spiritual. I know it's spiritual, but I don't know if it's like a Christian related or what is 100X? And I was thinking business at first, but then I heard spirituality. I was kind of thrown off.
Yeah, exactly. So what Pedro did, Pedro Adeo is the founder of it, and he connected kingdom with entrepreneurship.
Oh, it is. So it's both.
Yeah. So he's training us on being kingdom minded and getting our businesses and our messages and everything out in a powerful kingdom way, and bringing business with the kingdom into the world. Yeah.
Interesting. 100X. So is this an annual event he's doing now?
I'm going to another. We're meeting up in San Diego, December 3rd through the 8th. So that's in a couple weeks. We basically meet up like four or five times a year, but then we have a huge community like on Facebook and stuff. I have an incredible amount of support from the 100X family. I actually was on the phone with Pedro yesterday because I've been just struggling with some certain things with my own internal battle while this is all going on. And I just need that, you always want to reach up and learn from the people that have been through it. So I was actually on the phone with him yesterday for a little while. And it's basically a family of people that are going after the same thing, but all kingdom minded. Like it's all about bringing heaven into business.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
I love that. I was part of an event a lady was trying to start here. It was amazing how it happens. I was in a network marketing company, and I still love the company that I was with because when we had our weekend seminars, on Sunday, someone would get up there, one of the founders or someone of the higher levels would get up there and they'd preach. They tell they give their testimony, and then they preach. Like it was a literal sermon. Like, wait a minute, you realize this is supposed to be a business weekend? Like, what's going on? I love it. I'm all in for it. That's part of the reason why I'm here. But still, I didn't believe it when the lady who brought me into the company, I didn't believe it. I was like, they ain't really doing no. They may just talk about God, but they ain't really. But I got there and I was like, whoa, like Bible's out. Preach. I'm like, this is straight up like that was
amen. I love it.
So I brought a lady into the company and we were driving back because that's kind of what you do with network marketing. You drive in it so you can like talk to each other and get everybody riled up to continue on with the business, right?
Yeah.
So on the way back, she kept talking about this. I want to do this Christian leadership business, this idea, and we get to talking about it. Then I think like a month or 2 months later, she had her first event. I was like, whoa, like this is the type of stuff I have. And so initially, I was part of that Christian Business Leadership Network or something. I can't think of the exact name. It's Christian Business something or other. And we were meeting just like that once a week, bringing people in, speaking. Where everybody have a different story. So it was awesome. Yeah. So I'm definitely want to check that out. That was something that now that you said it, I think is phenomenal. I think it's phenomenal.
I'll introduce you for sure.
Definitely, most definitely.
Cool.
And before we get into the speaking portion, I see the other speaking thing, and I want to make sure, because you touched on it, you want to talk about it, so I want to make sure I touch on all the different aspects there. Yeah. So what did you pull out of that event? What have you pulled? Give us one thing that you pulled out from this event as far as putting kingdom into our business.
Man, there's no difference between kingdom and business.
Break that down, please.
Business was created in the kingdom. The kingdom, God created it all. People have been trying to separate them. Like people have been trying to do business and go to church. And the thing is that if we bring Jesus into all of it, then all of a sudden everything succeeds. We don't have to worry about the business anymore. And what I found, there's a huge religious spirit that is passed around that almost preaches poverty and lack, bro. Like,
It's 2 days in a row I've heard that. Keep
yeah,
going.
there's something with Jesus talked about money all the time. It's where
2
your
days in a row I've
treasure,
heard that.
it's where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Same scripture too. Man, look, man.
If your treasure is adding an incredible amount of value to the world and bringing God into the world, there's nothing wrong with prospering huge. Mm-hmm. It says in Daniel that we're supposed to be 10 times better than everybody in the world at everything, because we have God in it. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with, I don't even want to say there's nothing wrong. There's everything right with doing everything we do unto the glory of God, as if we're working and laboring for an end goal of bringing heaven down as we're supposed to, and preaching the gospel on the way. The gospel just means good news. Guess what? It's good news. You get to own a business. You get to live on mission. You get to live purposeful. You get to live abundant. It said, Jesus said he wanted us to have life in the fullest and in abundance, bro. That's everything. And if you seek first the kingdom, all these things will be added to you. All these things. It says, don't worry about what you're going to wear. Don't worry about what you're going to eat. You know, we're way more valuable than the sparrows, and the sparrows eat all day. They don't ever have to worry about their food. They don't ever have to worry about their nest. What I learned at that conference, what I learned is having a community of people that are willing to step out and talk about this and go at it. It causes that religious spirit to be forced to leave you. It can't stick around if you are consistently in a mindset and talking to people and going at things without letting people, like, dude, I have been fine with cutting people off because I have such a huge family now. A huge family of people that support what I'm doing, that have no disbelief, none. You will never hear anybody in this community that has any unbelief in you and what you want to do. Whatever that, if you have a huge, audacious goal that everybody in the world is like, yeah, right. The thing is that if you have that goal and you have God, then there is no unbelief. If you believe in God and God gave you that vision, then guess what? That vision will come to completion. That vision will always come to completion if you fulfill on it. And that's what I love. And as much as I would love to be able to go at it alone, bro, just me and God, we're not called to do that. We're called to have a community. We're called to love one another and bear each other's burdens together. You know, I'm able to go into this community and tell them things that I'm struggling with and get prayer and stuff, as well as I'm able to go in there and share wins. And we share wins with each other. We share struggles with each other. And guess what? The person that made my logo from 100X. The person that's helping me with my funnels from 100X. You know, it's all, there's a huge community of people doing different things all over the place. And we're all kingdom minded and we all believe in each other and we all support each other. That's what 100X is.
No, appreciate it. Because what I hear from that is that, especially what you said it right there towards the end there. There's definitely another bar for our TFP family, and that the power of community, and that when we start going after our dreams, we start going after those visions, when we start going after those things that have been placed upon our heart. There are many people, as scripture tells us, that are going to mock us, they're going to scorn us, they're going to talk against us, but I don't need all of them. I only need the one to believe. And that's all that matters in that situation, because I'm called to talk to the people who believe in what I'm saying. And that's what I'm supposed to focus my energy on, building them up and uplifting them. However, we're also looking at the fact of, because I'm going after these things, only people who are going after their thing will understand the struggle that you're going through, and only people who are going to support you. Everyone else, the majority of the people are like, I'm okay with just existing, with being a follower. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you choose to be, that's just you.
But don't hate us.
Yeah, but don't hate me because I'm trying to fulfill something that passion that was in you at one point to become whatever it is. And
Yeah.
I want to make this plain. So in my first book on unlimited potential, I talk about people finding their purpose and that you may not know what it is. So you may need to go on a personal mission until you find out what your purpose is. But you got to start moving, you got to take action, as we talked about already. And then God will start guiding you towards where you're supposed to go along the way. And that might be that you just want to be this great mom. And that might be your mission. That might be what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know what God has in store for you. But you might be supposed to be so focused on being a great mom that your kids are the one who changed the world. But if you're not there to raise them in the right way, the way God wants you to raise them, those kids don't get the principles that he needs for them to have.
That's good.
In order for them to grow into the leaders that he needs them to be.
Yeah, that's good.
So I just want to know, those moms out there, those people who are working at jobs or whatever, if you're called, you feel like that's what you're supposed to be, then you just do it to the best of your abilities and not just be settling. Settling is not the answer.
Yeah.
Ever.
Labor under the Lord. It literally tells us whatever we're doing. Mm-hmm. Dude, I remember my first job as a sandwich maker at a very popular sandwich place. I was the best sandwich maker that ever existed because I took a pride in what I did and did it under the glory of God. Everything that this is. I've been working jobs and stuff my whole life. I've had businesses, work jobs and all this. But the thing is that you are everywhere that you are. And the thing is, no matter where you are, it's you that chooses to be how and who you are. So in that moment, who are you representing? How are you representing? And what are you representing? It doesn't matter your circumstances. It matters who you are in those circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So as we're starting to wrap up here, I want to ask you, there's one last question before we go into some more of the fun questions, start wrapping the show up today. And that, what is your best book promotion tip at this point? I know you talked about doing the door-to-door sales and going on doing the sales, and maybe you're in the process of doing that. But I want to know what your best book promotion tip is right now.
I would say definitely get a solid launch team, and make sure that you get them to commit to the steps that you're going to have them do. You're going to send them the manuscript pre-launch. Make sure that they commit to reading it. Number 2, make sure they commit to downloading it on launch day and reviewing it on launch day. Number 3, sharing about it on social media. And make sure they commit to those. And then write down all the names of everybody, all their emails and phone numbers. Write them down on either a sheet of paper or whiteboard, and then you can color code it. So if there's 3 steps you're having them do, whenever somebody does the first step, mark that off on the list. And then if they haven't done the second step, hit them up and say, hey, I want to thank you again for committing to being on my launch team. And just wanted to see if you were able to write that review today for me, like we talked about. And as soon as they do, check off that second thing. Because the thing is that it's your launch team is huge for you. And number 2, other than the launch team, would be just be passionate about it. Just go don't hold back. Don't think about if this is going to work. It works. Every time you talk about it is an opportunity for promotion. Every time you go out, it's an opportunity for promotion. Just talking about, and dude, having a book, like anywhere I go in networking, all of a sudden, I never have to worry about somebody asking me what I do. And if I, a job that I have to talk about, well, I do this right now and this and that. No, I'm, on a mission, so have for book promotions, the launch team, and have a mentor that has done it before that can coach you through steps to take for the promotions.
Excellent. Love it. Love the launch team. Love the steps. I appreciate just adding those steps on there. I know one thing for me, sometimes, cause I can get energized, but I typically do that for people. When I'm out, I've learned to to be enthusiastic, to be more engaged, but I'm more reserved, watching and seeing what's going on, and having conversation with deeper conversation. I'm more not that loud, boisterous person. Is a part of my personality that I've developed. You know what I'm saying, for those time periods. But I love that you talk about the passion, because I may be passionate about what I'm talking about, but sometimes I don't bring it out. I don't share it as strongly as I could. And that's just because I'm like, some part of me says either you see it or you don't.
Right.
However, I know from a marketing standpoint, the passion carries it over. They'll get more enthusiastic about it. So thank you for that reminder. For those of you who are hearing this today, to stay passionate about it when you talk about it.
And when I say passion, I don't necessarily mean like speak loudly and all that like I do. That's just how my passion. That's how my personal passion and personality comes out.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by passion is be you unceasingly with people. However that is, that's how you connect with people. And passion means like going at it, and just belief in yourself.
Love it. I love it. I thank you for that. I appreciate that. And as we go into this last question here, I want to ask you this, because I've been asking people about steps people can use now and in the future. So in particular, as you're getting the process together of looking at helping other addicts recovering addicts, to share their messages, what would be something that you suggest they start doing now early in the recovery? And so as they're getting ready to this process of saying, all right, I'm ready to share my message, what tip would you give them right now? And I'm pretty sure I know what that step is, it's this process of getting ready to share their message.
Depending on where their faith lies, I always say you have to connect with God. You have to be connected with God on a daily basis, because He's the one who's going to give you what that dream, vision, and story is that you're supposed to get out, or higher power, any of that, whatever you want to call it. You have to be connected with that, and then definitely you want to be journaling. I journal every single morning.
I knew that was coming.
Every morning I do a Dear God journal, and I go through and do some scriptures and stuff, and I journal through what I took from those scriptures and everything. And then I try to do it on a regular basis. I'm not habitual yet for my evening journaling. I used to be at early recovery. So actually I appreciate this podcast. I'm going to get back on that now. Because I have a system where in the morning I would ask myself, what are 3 amazing things that could happen today? And I write, it would be amazing if and I write that 3 times. And then at night I write 3 amazing things that happened today. So because those 3 a lot of times are not the same, because these 3 things happen, but they're not as amazing as the 3 things that God had in store.
Okay. I mean, that reminds me of some stuff about Ben Franklin, about what he would do in the morning, saying the things he would say, expectancy for the day. And then at the end of the day, what happened in the day. It reminds me of Ben Franklin. I love that. And I love that you gave a few different examples of what the journal looked like, because that was going to be my follow-up question. So you've already got the examples of what to do there, journaling the day, looking at some scripture or whatever text that you may be reading, or ideas that's come to mind, of journaling on that, because some people are in scriptures, whatever reason, whatever's with them. Your spiritual text, I definitely recommend that, whatever it is. And then journaling on what those ideas mean to you, because that process of journaling those ideas and what they mean, it's so powerful. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. So it obviously is something that works to help you get more connected with your spiritual power. So thank you for that. Absolutely. Thank you for that. So let's go into these more of the fun questions here as we're wrapping this up. They're fun for me because I get to learn more about you. It may not be fun for you, but what do you do on your days off that most people don't know about?
On my days off, I really, really, really love the gym. I do that on days on and off. Something that that I don't share with people. But sometimes I really just want to shut off and watch TV for 2 or 3 hours. And before I do that, I literally thank God for allowing me to rest in this time and watch TV with him, and let everything else go away. Because a lot of times there's, and I very rarely watch TV, but sometimes like it just, when I need to shut off, like completely shut off, I have to have something occupying my mind. So I hate it, but I like the first 48 and I like Impractical Jokers. So,
That is no, I get it. No, because that's why they call it the what do they call it, the boob tube or whatever you call it, because you can get in there and it would take over your brain. You forget about everything else. So I definitely understand what that is. I appreciate that. I love it. But I didn't think about the elements of being grateful, going into it with gratitude. That's interesting. I have to try that, but I love it.
Yeah, I can beat myself up about watching TV because I know that it's not. Wow. I know that when I sit down to watch TV, I could be doing something better. But sometimes when I know that I just need to shut off, I thank God for letting me rest without shame. And literally, I tell him to watch TV with me because it makes me, I don't feel any shame about it because I just need to shut off for a minute.
Self-care, more self-care as opposed to neglecting something or being a distraction or procrastinating or whatever. It's more of, I need this right now to self-care as part of self-care so I can get back to my fullest potential. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Sometimes I love to put headphones on and put worship music on and walk around downtown with noise canceling headphones on with worship music, singing it out loud. Like people are all over the place. I have no idea what they're thinking, no idea, but I'm just sitting there singing worship music, walking around downtown Denver with headphones on. Yeah.
All right, now. I don't know if that's what you meant by walking through traffic knowing you're in the spirit and you're not going to get hit. I remember that in the book. You talked about that.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us what your favorite book is. I'm pretty sure I know what the first one is, but tell us what your favorite book is. And if you need to, 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, so you know that it's the Bible.
Yeah.
And then I really loved Man's Search for Meaning.
Okay.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. I really like The Way of the Warrior. Have you heard of that?
I do vaguely. Is it a black book? Is the book black?
Yeah. Let me.
I got it downstairs in the talking. I can picture it in my library right now.
Yeah, it's McManus.
Yes.
He's really
samurai
really
and all that type of stuff. Samurai principles. Yes, I have it. I can picture exactly where it is.
Yeah, he's awesome. It's so many of my books that I've read. Like, to be honest with you, they're all like anything that you take that's good out of a book, it's scriptural.
Yeah.
Like I can show you where it is in the Bible. Some of them are able to communicate, biblical teaching really, really well. I'm just in the Word so much that it kind of trumps a lot of the books that I read. It changed my entire life. Like it made it so that when I have a bad thought, I'm able to say, shut up. That's not true, because that's what the Bible says. This is what the Bible says about what's true. And it's the only thing that's ever like transformed my life. The only thing that I've read that actually, that I can contribute to being a life-changing read, something that changed my life.
No, excellent. Definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So with that in mind, what is your favorite quote?
For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him.
Of course. I knew that should have been. Where's the hat anyway?
Well, the thing is that what I'm trying to figure out, because I have so many friends that just hate Christianity, that have no idea what it actually means, and it's because of the religious spirit, dude.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. I'm not religious. Like, people ask me if I'm religious, And just to help them with the definition, like I say, yeah, I love Jesus. And, you know, I follow the Bible, because what that does, you know, I can quote all day. You heard me, I went on a tangent earlier where I was just quoting Bible verse after Bible verse after Bible verse. The thing is that it's God quotes, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's God quotes.
No, I mean, no, there's a difference between spirituality and religiosity.
Yes.
And I've tried to explain to people before that, you know, we have a reason why we have in the U.S. separation of church and state is because it's already known that church, and in this instance, religion is a form of governance.
Yes.
And if you want a more example, go over to Europe and see who rules. Who rules? Right. The church does. Right. So therefore, that religion is a form of governance. It's proof there. But the spiritual principles that we're talking about, the spiritual laws that we live by, is completely different.
Yeah.
As long as we don't allow our minds, the way we use those principles as we do anything else to control, manipulate people. And that's just the nature of what we do in governance. But anyway, without going too far into that, I get you the spiritual principles, and I love it. So before we have one last question here, and then after that, we definitely want to get into how people, the TFP family, can get in contact with you and see what's next for you. Well, before we go there, we'll give you, this is your mic, your camera, whatever you want to call it. This is your time right now, your opportunity to share your message with the TFP family and just let them know what is your message that you must share with the world. Go ahead and share that message.
It was September 28th, 2008. And I had been out drinking and partying the night before, just like I had learned to do for the last few years of my life. And I woke up to my phone ringing down by my knee. And I was in a unfamiliar bed, and I was next to a girl that I don't remember her name, and I don't remember who she was. My phone was ringing, and it was my best friend calling. And I was still in a drunken stupor, so I answered it, and I remember thinking if I should answer it like, "Hey, what's up, Chuck?" Or I could answer it like, "Hello," which is how I was feeling. And because I was in a drunken stupor, I answered it, "Hello." And I heard a soft voice from the other side say, "Hey, what's up?" And I said, "Why are you calling me this late?" He said, "I was just calling to say hi." And I said, "Don't call me this late again." And I hung up on him. And he shot himself. And the message that I need to get out is to take hold of the moments that you have right now, whether it be with loved ones, whether it be with yourself or your purpose. Take this moment and do everything you possibly can in it. What happened after that event was my life turned into having to suppress every feeling and every emotion that life brought onto me with drugs and alcohol. After that event, I was no longer able to party just to have fun. I was partying and using drugs to suppress something that happened within me. And then all of a sudden, everything that happened in my life was suppressed by drugs and alcohol. And what we need to do as recovered addicts is share these stories, because from the age of 12 to 19 when that happened, I was using and drinking and had no idea that what I was setting myself up for was to have a horrible, horrible spiral of addiction and of pain and of loneliness and of depression and despair. And the only way that addiction is going to be ended is by us sharing these stories about where it goes and what happened in our own life, that pivotal moment that changed everything and made it so that it was no longer fun. It's no longer, like, a lot of kids just don't realize where this is going. Like, people think that it's not a big deal, or kids think that it's not a big deal, or that'll never happen to them. I don't even know if I ever had the chance to have that thought, because I never thought about it. I just drank and used and did all these things just as a way of life. The thing is that we need to save these kids. There's generations coming up. The OD numbers are going up. This is the first time in American history that the life expectancy is going down from drug overdoses. And it's not going to end, and we're not going to end addiction by helping the addict. The addict suffering has to do what they have to do to get out. The only way that we're going to end addiction is by ending it at the source before it goes into the spiral effect. Give them the choice. Give them the choice of their life to live a life fulfilled on mission and purpose, and know that drugs and alcohol they're deadly for everybody. When you start that young, you're in for a lot of pain, bro.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing the message there. And I feel what you're saying. That's why I'm trying to catch them early too. Thank you for that. Most definitely. Thank you for being here on the show. Thank you for sharing your message, for sharing your experience, for sharing the different ideas that you brought to us today for those who are suffering from whatever illness they're suffering from, but understanding that there is someone that's still there for them and can work through them. And the idea of having a community to support you in your endeavors. Love it. So is the last question here, the last thing to do is to share with the audience. I know you said you have some social media pages or whatnot that you're starting to grow there for what's your message. So tell the TFP family as the last question here, what's next for you, and then how to connect with you.
Yeah. So I am launching the program From Pain to Purpose. It's 90 days to getting your story out. I'll be teaching everybody how to publish their book, how to formulate their stories, how to perfect the keynotes. I'm training you how to do 3 different keynotes, and then how to speak in schools. And with that program, if you want to connect with it or if you want to support it, go to recoveredonpurpose.com. And I don't know exactly what the free gift is going to be yet, but I'll have something on there for you, as well as that's a really good place to get in contact with me if you want me to speak somewhere. I do speak in treatment centers as well as schools. And then also go on to my Facebook page, Recovered on Purpose, and just say hello, get into the community. I post multiple videos on there every single week with different messages that all kind of formulate for the story. I'll be starting my own podcast next month, Recovered on Purpose, which the whole point is to help drug addicts get their stories out. So I'll be doing interviews and stuff there. By January, I'll be looking for recovered addicts that want to get their stories out to be on that podcast as well. Best way to connect is through Facebook, Recovered on Purpose.
Excellent. Love it. Definitely have all of that in the show notes. And I look forward to the mission growing. Look forward to being a part of what you're doing here to continue to help our communities to dissuade it towards going the route of drugs and alcohol. Yeah. Love it. So God bless, brother. I appreciate you for being on here, for doing everything you've done. And I have everything that you have here in the show notes for us. God bless, brother.
God bless you. Thank you so much for having me, Dwight. Thank you so much, brother.
You've just listened to episode number 27 of the Thought Fortunes podcast with your host, D. Orlando Fortune. That's your boy right here. And I want to give thanks to our sound and audio guy, Kyle Binge, and of course to our creator. And do you have any questions or comments about today's show or about publishing in general? You want to email them to fortune@thoughtfortunepress.com. And if you want to turn your ideas into a branded book that books more speaking engagements and generates more leads, head on over to thoughtfortunepress.com/4brains and grab a copy of the 4 Brains template and map out your book today. Now, it's so easy, you'll wonder why everyone hasn't written a book. And that's at thoughtfortunepress.com/4brains. Now, if you like the show, do us a favor, share, like, and join. Take a screenshot and share the episode with the hashtag ThoughtFortunesPodcast. And then show us how much you like us by giving us 5 stars and a review on iTunes. Finally, join us every week by subscribing to the podcast so that you don't miss an episode. This has been your boy D. Orlando Fortune telling you once again that you're only one one book away from your next business breakthrough. God bless, and talk to you next time.